There's an interesting aspect of real-world Dalek history that I don't see talked about often in the Doctor Who fandom, and it relates to how Daleks are referred to, both by characters in the show and fans, writers and commentators discussing the show. The topic I'm talking about today is, what are the pronouns of the Daleks? Generally speaking, Daleks are referred to as it. This reflects their status not only as beings who do not identify themselves by gender, but also as creatures who are distinctly inhuman, in many ways more robotic in a metaphorical sense than they are living. Daleks are genetic mutants, they are not a naturally occurring life form, and their apparent lack of any gender or sexuality further distinguishes them from the majority of the sentient beings of the universe we have seen that they are committed to exterminating, most notably humanity. However, there are several distinct examples of Daleks in Doctor Who that are referred to by a specific pronoun, the pronoun in question always being he/him. Usually, it is only distinct individual Daleks who are referred to in this way, primarily high-ranking commanders. Several Supreme Daleks have been referred to as he. The Dalek Emperor is referred to by his own Daleks as him. Dalek X from Prisoner of the Daleks is described as a he, and both Dalek Sec and Dalek Khan of the Cult of Skaro are also identified using he/him. These latter two examples are particularly significant, as Sec is referred to as he following his fusion with Diagoras, who also appears to identify as male, and Dalek Khan is referred to as he by Davros, the creator and primary authoritative source of information on Daleks, who also identifies as male. The Time Controller and Time Strategist are identified using he/him pronouns, with the case of the Time Strategist also being significant, as the original form of this specific Dalek, the duplicate Adelaide Dutton, identifies as female, but once the Time Strategist is created, the characters in the story refer to it using he/him pronouns. It is also notable to point out that there are several other examples of prominent Dalek characters who are referred to as it, not he, such as the Metaltron. There are several interesting questions that we can draw from this. For one, why the distinction of pronouns between lower-ranking and higher-ranking Daleks? It could be interpreted as a fundamental, albeit rarely addressed, aspect of Dalek society. Standard Daleks are called drones and do not have individual identities, whereas higher-ranking Daleks are allowed a greater degree of autonomy and personal expression, and as such are referred to as he to denote their distinction from the drones and acknowledge their greater degree of self-identity. However, this leads us to the second question: why the masculine association? Out of universe, the answer to this question is blatant and simple. Daleks were created in the 1960s, and for the vast majority of their existence as a concept, general understanding of the distinction between gender, sexuality and self-identification has been at best muddied and at worst non-existent. This isn't an issue in itself as far as the Daleks are concerned. I'm not talking about this to try to levy any kind of blame against the creators of the Daleks for being ignorant of concepts that were not widely discussed or understood during their lifetimes. That wouldn't be fair. I'm simply pointing out that it's an interesting aspect of the characterization of the Daleks. Same goes for the Cybermen. In their very name, Cybermen, these partly robotic, genderless and distinctly inhuman creatures are defined as masculine, despite the fact that Cybermen assimilate people of all genders into their collective. It is worth noting that, for the majority of stories in which they appear, Daleks are primarily referred to as it, not he. Same goes for Cybermen. So while it is possible that the use of he to refer to specific individuals from each species could be a reflection of stereotypical masculine associations, this isn't a universal association. It only applies to very specific individuals. There is also a possible in-universe explanation for this. As previously mentioned, Davros also uses he/him pronouns, and as the 12th Doctor says in Series 9, everything Davros is, the Daleks are. Could it be that the graduation of high-ranking Daleks from being referred to as it to being referred to as he is an illustration of these specific Daleks unconsciously, or perhaps even deliberately, bringing themselves closer to the personality and self-identification of their creator? Ultimately, these are questions that are difficult to answer. This specific aspect of the Dalek identity has not been explored or even directly addressed by the show, and as with a lot of elements of Dalek lore and history, there may not be a single definitive answer. I bring this discussion to the table not only to draw attention to the point, but also hopefully to aid in my own edification. So, what do you think? Why are significant individual Daleks referred to as he? Do you think we will ever see any Daleks in the show or expanded media who identify as another pronoun? Do you think that the association with Daleks and masculinity is simply an accident, or a deliberate commentary on masculine stereotypes? And do you think that there is any weight to the argument that this could be an in-universe indication of the Daleks' reverence for their creator? Let me know in the comments below.
Don't forget to click below to subscribe to
Dalek Bumps.